Sunday afternoon, setting up. I got a new studio set I'm working on. This is your big this is my big trial. I gotta you can see the lights behind me. I'll fix all that. But that's my Sunday project after we hang up here is building more. You don't realize how hard this stuff is to put up afterwards. It looks so pretty, but it's not the easiest thing to cut and everything else. But hey, great to see you all. It is the Moolah Morning Brew. We are live. Check in the comments and say hello. How is the audio, by the way? I'm on AirPods today. I hope that's okay compared to the lavalier mic. I hope that sounds okay. If not, I'm sure I have the lavalier mic nearby somewhere, but for now, we'll stick with the AirPods. So is audio good? Hopefully it is. I've got the iPhone hardwired. Did you know you could hardwire your phone to the internet? So I wanted to have superior internet connection for you all. Um, this is a really, really important live stream. So maybe grab this link, send this to somebody, share this with somebody. I want to dive into the 3 habits that are going to shape your 2026 for the best. Hey, Tyler, thank you for the feedback on the sound. Great to see you, by the way. Tyler, you probably know most of these. This is maybe more so for the kids and everything else, although I know they're both off to a great start. But really, 3 habits. And hey, good morning. I just saw a comment say good morning, Jason. Flyby. I didn't see the name. I apologize, but great to see you. Um, 3 habits that are going to shape your 2026 to really make it your best 2026. As my beautiful producer Magda passes me my notes that I left downstairs. Um, 3 habits that are going to shape your 2026 to make it your wealthiest yet. And whether you are young and in college, whether you are 40 or 50 or 60 years old, like these are habits that we can still start building on because just like your finances, good habits compound. And we can and why wait till 2026? We can start doing this now. Those of you who know Magda and I, you know, we came from aviation. So a lot of these analogies I'm going to give are going to be related to flight training and aviation and everything else too, because honestly, these habits work whether you're learning to fly. They work whether you are trying to build wealth. They work whether you're trying to run a marathon one day, whatever that may be. And the first is really this: it is consistency. How many of you, I'm sure you've never done this, you've just seen this done. You see someone who starts out with grand ambitions to go to the gym, to improve their diet, to improve their finances, improve their marriage, whatever it is. And they start out and they're so strong for like 30 days, sometimes even 60 days. Maybe they make it 90 days and then it begins to kind of fizzle out. I'm sure you have never done that. That's never happened to you because you're absolutely amazing and I believe in you. But I'm sure you've run into some people that have lacked that consistency. In our aviation business, we talked so much about this idea, even had a seminar by the topic called Aviation Mastery, even had a book, still have a book, by the title of Aviation Mastery. And really, where I got the idea is I was reading Malcolm Gladwell's book, The Outliers. Outlier, like what makes a Michael Jordan, a Kobe Bryant, like what makes these people, really who they are. You can think of outliers, love them, hate them, that doesn't matter. You look at an Elon Musk, like these are all outliers. They're on the fringe, like there's just something different about them. And there's many things different about them. But one of the big things Malcolm Gladwell alluded to in the book, maybe you heard of, he calls it the 10,000-hour rule. It's 10,000 hours. And it was so easy to relate that to aviation because in aviation, we literally log all our time. But one thing I realized very quickly in aviation was most people never reach 10,000 hours. So it was almost intimidating to say, I'll never reach 10,000 hours. So how will I ever even get to mastery? And this is true in many, many things. Unless it's your actual profession, it is very hard to reach 10,000 hours in something to achieve that level of greatness. So, how are we finding the time? You're saying, Jason, I I run my business or I have a job, and you want me to be, consistent in what? Consistent in my financial education? Like I'm not going to get to 10,000 hours. And I respect that. And I understand that. What I respect even more is you're here right now. It's a beautiful Sunday afternoon in Florida. It might be chilly where you are, but it's like 80 degrees and sweaty. I don't even know why I'm wearing a long sleeve 'cause it's literally that hot. Some of you, Tyler's probably thinking, come to Kentucky. There's snow on the ground right now. I was just talking to a buddy in Columbus, and he said there's snow on the ground right now in Columbus. So I don't envy you. I don't know how to drive in snow. I don't know how to do that. So don't invite me. Invite me in the summertime. That's when I'll come visit and say hi. Um, but some of you think, how would I build this level of consistency? You're watching this right now on a Sunday afternoon. Like that's the first rep of going to the gym. What podcasts are you listening to? What books are you listening to? What Netflix series? Am I pushing a hot button? I'm not saying you can't relax and enjoy yourself and everything else. That's totally acceptable. That is totally acceptable. What I'm saying is, what are you putting in, right? Into your mind and everything else. You know what when we get done here, I'm going to put on some business podcast, some finance podcast. I've got my 20 or so, probably too many that I subscribe to. They're on autoplay, and I'm going to finish building the studio because this part looks a little controlled. Over there's a little bit crazy right now. Boxes and everything else as I'm trying to build this new studio out. This is like a bonus room above our garage that I'm trying to kind of build out here. And I'm gonna put something on, and I'm gonna get to work. And it's about what you're consuming consistently that's gonna matter. How does this relate to your finances? One of the greatest things you can do, and I'll brag on Tyler for a moment because Tyler, you may not always feel this, and so hopefully this is uplifting to you. Um, I I'm obsessed with Moolah and what we're calling our Moolah members. Like I see everything you all do on Moolah. Every trade you make, every deposit, every withdrawal. Like I literally ask Magda, I refresh my little dashboard, I call it my scoreboard every day, and I'm watching going, I wonder why they did that. I wonder the Moolah meter says this, but they did this. I'm going, ooh, that was a smart move by so. I'm literally like, I tell you all not to log into Moolah and look at it every day, but I'm like obsessive over to, hey, Adam, great to see you. By the way, Adam, you're another great example of this. I saw what you did this week, by the way, Adam, as well. And yes, I will mention some of those podcasts and books and everything else here when we get done. Remind me, Adam. But I'm constantly watching this and I'm thinking, it's those who have the recurring deposits that are building this. And Tyler, I was thinking of like your IRA and these sort of things, like just putting it on autopilot, to use some aviation terminology, and really automating that. It's those of you who've put an auto recurring deposit into Sophia. And by the way, I'd argue those of you who've been in Sophia for the past 2 weeks or so, Sophia is our smart investing on autopilot. I don't call it a robo trader. That sounds scary. Um, your smart investor on autopilot because it's not just robo trading. It's literally like personalized to you. Um, y'all have done pretty well the past 2 weeks, I bet, if you logged in to check. Imagine if you put that on a recurring deposit. Imagine the gasoline you can pour on that, the tiny match that you could light. Like these are the consistency items that I'm talking about with this. Number two, so first thing is consistency. What are we doing consistently? And this is your going to the gym moment. This is your recurring deposit. This is the I'm gonna learn this language, learn this skill like learning to fly. Those of you like Tyler and Adam who followed us at our previous aviation business, you know very, very well um, the power of consistency in your training and in your flying and everything else is just so powerful. Number two is this, and then I'll get to the books and everything else. My beautiful wife is bringing me some of those books, so thank you, sweetie, for doing that. Number two is this: it's self control. One of the books I'm going to mention has a whole chapter literally on self control. If I'm sorry for so many aviation analogies, but I know many of you are pilots, so you can relate to this. If we cannot master self, what makes me think we can master our finances, master the airplane, whatever it is? Here's the aviation analogy. The majority of accidents in airplanes, do you know what they're caused by? And for those of you that are wondering why so many aviation analogies, our last business was in aviation. The majority of accidents in aviation are caused by somebody who kept flying longer than they should have. And I don't mean like in duration. I mean, they're flying along and they look at some clouds and go, huh, those don't look so great, but they keep going. And then it starts to get dark. I think like the JFK Jr. accident, like he took off and the clouds were like at 2,000 feet. And then he kept flying and he had to keep descending because the clouds were getting lower. And the clouds were literally pushing him down, pushing him down, pushing him down, pushing him down. He passed by all these good airports. He passed by all these opportunities to land, but he just had this idea that I have to get there. And when we treat our finances the same way, when you see a little red flag, when something just doesn't feel right and you keep going, this is when loss can come into the equation. As opposed to, hey, this is our consistency. I'm going to stay the course. I've given this analogy a lot because another thing I'm very passionate about, for those of you that know me, I haven't done it in a while, but Magda, get ready for this. I want to get back to it. I used to do ultra marathons, which is ridiculous. It's very very crazy. And those of you that know Coach Ray, how I met Coach Ray was he was my ultra marathon coach for a long time. Um, the longest race I did was like 60 miles. You started it, it was dark. You finished, it was dark. Um, and you know how you finish an ultra marathon is it's just consistency. You don't come out. And in fact, how I started all my ultra marathons out, I started out walking. I let all the crazy people because you start in this huge group and you're like tripping over each other and bumping each other. I started out walking. I said, just let them all go. Let them all go. And I would walk maybe the first half mile and then I'd start running. And one by one, you'd pick off people that just couldn't keep up. This, you got the adrenaline pumping, you got this, Magnus in the chat, please no more ultras. Maybe just regular marathons then. Um, because the training was ridiculous. I'd wake up at 3 in the morning to do all this stuff. Um, but you have to have the self-control to make tiny little steps, tiny little action steps day by day. Think to your profession. Tyler, do you wake up saying, I want to sell 30 cars today? Because I gotta finish December strong. And I'm sure you would love to sell it. Maybe you do. I don't know the numbers, but do you wake up saying, I need to sell 30 cars today? Hey Joe, good to see you. Or do you instead say, listen, I'm just gonna sell one car each day, and I'm gonna get to my 30 for the month. I'm just gonna sell one car every day or two cars. Like you have to really chunk these goals into this back to point number one, consistent, tiny little bits of self-control action. This is how you build lasting wealth is putting one foot in front of the other. One of the books, Adam, to write down, you've probably read it, you've certainly heard of it, and maybe it's just one to pick up again, is called Good to Great, Jim Collins. Ignore the examples because a lot of the company's examples he gives in there, some of them don't exist anymore. They went from good to great to broke because they fell away from the consistency. Like one of the examples he gives is Circuit City. You think, how could Circuit City go from good to great? They did go from good to great, and then they missed the technological shift that was Amazon, failure to compete against Best Buy, etc. Remember, if you ever remember going into a Circuit City store, they relied very heavily on salesmen. Like you ever go furniture shopping, you're like, please don't bother me. I'm just gonna go on Wayfair. Right? They missed that is a big thing with Circuit City. Good to great. An analogy it gives in there is the 20-mile march. And it gives the analogy of you are racing on foot across the United States. So let's say from Delaware to California, let's say, on foot. How do you win? There's two teams. How do you win the race? Well, one team goes out and says, man, on the good days, I'm gonna go 80 miles. On the bad days, I'll just go 10 miles. It was really cold and snowy today, so we didn't go any distance. We just stayed in our tents. We didn't go anywhere. When in reality, Who wins the race? It's like the tortoise and the hare kind of story. Who wins the race is the team that says, I'm going to go 20 miles every single day. On the great days where it's 70 degrees, no humidity, and beautiful, I'm gonna hold back. I'm just gonna go 20 miles. On the really terrible days where you don't even want to get out of your tent, you push through. You go 20 miles. Consistency beats these spurts of action time and time again. And that applies to your finances. And there are going to come times where everybody wants to hit these home runs. But we all know the game of baseball is won by a series of base hits. I know the home runs make it on ESPN, but the game of baseball is won by just hit the ball in play and get on base. Then ask the next guy to do the same thing. And we just build and we build and we build. So step one of the habits, the three habits we're talking about to change your wealth trajectory in 2026, the first is consistency. The second is self-control. And the third, this is where I'll get into more book and podcast kind of recommendations for you. Um, you are a product of the environment you spend the most time with. I realize that's kind of a mouthful to share. There's probably a better way to ask ChatGPT to tell me how to explain that, but I'm just trying to be plain English with you. You are a product of the environment you spend the most time with. Um, how do I say this lightly? I mean, we've all heard the saying, "You show me your five closest friends, and I'll show you your destiny." That's a scary thought for some of us. It was a scary thought for me in college because the kinds of kids I was spending time with in college, I was watching friend after friend go get arrested for underage drinking or get a DUI. And guess what? They were kicked out of the aviation program. I saw this happen time. I said, "Whoa! These are not the kind of kids I should be." They're the popular kids, right? But I shouldn't be hanging out with them. Like I should just be. I, I went and instead I joined the flight team, like the aviation team. And for those who know aviation, I was put on the E6B team, which is basically like I was on the math team after that. Like I went from hanging out with the cool kids to joining the math team, to put it in plain English. And it was totally okay because it was a big stepping stone into where I needed to go. Right? Who are you hanging out with? Who are you spending your time with? What are the products that you are consuming? Right? I mean, show me your recent podcasts, your recent audiobooks, your recent Netflix series, and you can probably have a good idea of your trajectory. And there is nothing wrong if you have a show you like to binge because you work like crazy and on Saturdays or Sundays you just need to tune out and watch something. For me, that's like World War II documentaries. Magda will tell you, like some of my weekends are just like, hey, I want to watch this, you know, blood and guts war documentary. It's educational is how I justify it. And that's how I kind of tune out sometimes. We need those things too. But you are a product of your environment and who you spend time with, right? Thanks for the kind words in the comments, by the way. Um, so think about your closest friends who you're spending time with. Some of you might be thinking, geez, it's just my coworkers at work, or some of you, it's just my employees at work. Like, you need to find that group that levels you up. You need to find that group of guys or gals or whoever it is that helps you think bigger. And there likely isn't one person who can help you with all these things. I don't know of the super person who's got their marriage, their finances, their business, and everything else just perfectly in order. That person probably doesn't exist. Maybe they do. I'd love to meet them. But these might be a few different people. Who is the person that has that marriage that you go, whoa, like that's the kind of marriage I want to model. Look how much they love each other. We should spend some time with these people, both together as a couple and probably husbands and husbands and wives, right? Separately as well, just to learn. Who is the person that has their finances together that you go, this is someone I could really, really learn from? And you may not actually know these people. These could be the podcasts I'm talking about. These could be the audiobooks. These could be the YouTube videos. They could be any number of things, right? Um, so think about those. Um, those are the things how I need you to think. They may not be actual people that you physically know, but they could be aspirational mentors that you hope to meet one day. Who has their health like you aspire towards? Like these are the people I want you to surround yourself with, the podcast, the ways I need you thinking as far as that goes. Literally before we went live, I was just speaking with one of those gentlemen who certainly helps me on the business, the finance, the spiritual side as well. Beautiful to have all those things wrapped together. And even before he called, if you know me, you know this is my second favorite book, and that is Think and Grow Rich. Um, Think and Grow Rich was written in 1937. You think, how could something written in 1937 still be relevant today? And there's some different examples that you wouldn't, businesses that don't exist anymore that you couldn't relate to and everything else. But some of the stories you hear about of Andrew Carnegie, of the Rockefellers, of J.P. Morgan, of Thomas Edison, um, and you just think these are men and women stories in this book that show how important mindset really is. One of the greatest things my parents ever gave me was taught me how to dream, and they didn't even know it. My father used to always say, "Believing in you starts with you." And I believed him and still do, right? The ability to dream. There's a great story in the book about Thomas Edison. Did you know Thomas Edison was kicked out of elementary school. In the fifth grade, he was kicked out of school because he couldn't read, he couldn't write. In fact, the teacher sent him home with a letter saying, "Hey, this Thomas is not going to get it. He is not welcome at this school anymore. It's fifth grade now. The kid can't read, the kid can't write." The teacher wrote this letter and sent it home to his mother. Thomas had no clue what it said because he couldn't read. He took it home, gave it to his mother, and his mother read it. And he said, "What does it say, Mom?" And his mom told a little white lie. She said, "Thomas, it says you are so smart that this school is actually beneath you, and and you actually should probably be homeschooled because of the vast talent that you have inside of you to be fully materialized. This school is not capable of teaching you someone at your level." And Thomas Edison believed it. And you know what? It wasn't until his mother passed away that he very much learned to read and write. His mother became his teacher. It wasn't until his mother passed away and he went over to her house and began to clean things up, as that tough time in life is, where you moving stuff out of your parents' house that have passed away. And he found the original letter and just broke down in tears, going, "Wow, this is what that letter really said. That, hey, your kid's an idiot, basically, and will never be anybody." And his mom told just a little white lie. And you think, wow, somebody believed in him. Who do you have that believes in you? Because you are a product of that environment. You're a product of that environment. Again, the book is Think and Grow Rich. It's actually public domain, so you can even find a free PDF. Um, do your best to find the original from 1937 because it is public domain. A lot of people have tried to update it with modern day examples, and they've done okay. Um, but nothing hits home like the original. Maybe read the original first, then you can read some of the other um, examples. Um, some other books and podcasts that have been mentoring me lately. You've got to be a bit of a math nerd to enjoy this book. Um, if not, I will summarize. If you are not a math nerd, I mean it, you have to genuinely geek out and enjoy math, or you will not enjoy this book. I'm actually building a program based on this book, literally like a web development software around this book for our Moolah users so you can see it. The book is called The Missing Billionaires. Here is the premise. Again, you have to love math or you will not enjoy this book, The Missing Billionaires. And it's a book you need to read. You probably can't listen to it because there's so much math in it. But here is the premise. Cornelius Vanderbilt, railroad titan Vanderbilt the college, like you know the Vanderbilts. Railroads is where Cornelius Vanderbilt made his money. Cornelius Vanderbilt died the wealthiest man in America. Yet there is not a single person living today that can trace their wealth back on the Fortune 500 or Fortune 100, let's say, to inheriting from Cornelius Vanderbilt. In fact, all his wealth was gone by the grandsons, by the third generation. It was gone. And I'm talking by today's standards, we're talking billions upon billions of dollars. It was hundreds of millions back then, but by today's dollars, it was billions upon billions of dollars, and it didn't live past his grandkids. Why is that the case? In fact, if now index funds didn't exist at this time, but if they just would have put the money in the general market, it would have made billionaires for the next 20 generations. Yet here we are on like generation 6 or 7 from that distance, and if they have that DNA, they don't have that bank account because it was gone. And what it talks about is the idea of making these smart, consistent investments. Again, I'm developing a whole kind of program around it. You'll get to see, which is great. Another great podcast, and actually, Adam, this one would probably hit home with you on the business front. One of my favorite business podcasts I am listening to right now is called The Acquired Podcast. I've gone back so many episodes. They are long. They're like 2, 3 hours long. In fact, Tyler, there's actually an episode on the Savannah Bananas, the baseball team, banana ball team, technically. Just fascinating use cases to learn about, but they just dive so deep into these businesses. They have two podcasts, Acquired and then Acquired 2, ACQ 2, which is the shorter version of it. Um, Fascinating. I go for we live in a little neighborhood, so it's a little safe area to bike around. I'll go for these bike rides around the neighborhood with the meta glasses where I can listen to it and still hear cars, don't worry. And I will just like zone out, go to the gym, and just it's fascinating the business history and acumen. If you're into business, just absolutely amazing. And then obviously what you're doing here, finding time on a Sunday to better yourself. I hope we play a small part in helping you, not just with the finances side, but you see, we're so big into the mindset. Because if you don't believe you can build wealth, you're right. And if you do believe you can build wealth, well, you're also right. And guess what? I believe with you. If you know us from our previous business, we talk so much about this. Like you have to believe you're going to accomplish your goals and setting these goals. And we're going to spend the next parts of December here really saying, okay, what are the goals I can set going into 2026 to make this my best year yet? But it starts with the mindset. If we don't build that proper mindset, we can set all the goals we want, but if we don't believe in the goals we're setting, you're going to set yourself up for failure. So with it just a few days into December, a few weeks until 2026, picking up Think and Grow Rich would be a great book to pick up right now to start building those goals, building those habits. Again, the 3 habits were consistency, one foot in front of the other, the recurring deposit, the daily healthy diet, the daily going to the gym, whatever it is for you, you got to be consistent with it. The second was having self-control. What did we talk about last week? Be fearful when others are greedy and greedy when others are fearful. That takes self-control. When everyone is freaking out, when Jim Cramer is screaming, sell, 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 right? And you have to stay the course. That's scary sometimes. But this is how we build long-term sustainable wealth. So we don't end up like the grandkids of the Vanderbilts who had the wealthiest grandfather on the face of the earth and had nothing because their father and before them were not good stewards of it. Takes consistency. And the third is you're the product of the environment you surround yourself with. Who are your friends? Who are your mentors in your finances, your health, your marriage, your spiritual growth, your business, whatever that may be? What are you consuming? Books, podcasts, Netflix series, Prime series. It doesn't matter. And there's nothing wrong with having that Breaking Bad series that you have to binge out on. Sometimes it's just a tune out. We all need to tune out and catch a break every now and then. I get it. I get it. But the majority needs to be edifying, uplifting, even down to the music you're listening to. Is the music that you're listening to, sounds crazy, but is it edifying your soul? Just being real with you and deep with you. Like, is everything I'm consuming working me closer or further from my goal of what I'm trying to accomplish? That's a radical kind of viewpoint, but that's how you have to think about these things. So listen, next week we'll be talking more about these goals, how to set these goals. There'll be a little bit of a goal setting workshop. So come prepared for that as well. 2026 is going to be your best financial year yet. If you believe it, I believe in you. Magda, my wife, believes in you. The Moolah team believes in you. Let's make sure you believe in you as well. Have a blessed, abundant, outstanding rest of your Sunday, everybody. I'll see you back next week. I'll shoot you some emails this week, too. A lot of great updates coming to Moolah. Thank you for your great feedback on that survey. We've already made a lot of those changes, and I'll be pushing some updates here as well. Have an amazing Sunday, everybody. We'll see you.